astronauts, this is Brandy and welcome back to Astro-Tarot Research. This week's reading is, what kind of energy do you bring into a room? We have 5 piles to choose from as always, but before we get started, I want to remind you to like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram and on TikTok if you want to know more about my daily life. Now, let us get into these piles. We have pile number 1, pile number 2, pile number 3, pile number 4, and pile number 5. So let's not waste any more time and just sit back, relax, and choose. Hey, pile number 1, let's get started on the energy that you bring into a room. We have the Ten of Swords, Seven of Cups, the Star, the Ace of Wands, and Venus and Chiron. Okay, interesting. So the energy that you bring into the room is that you have been through some tough times. Not gonna lie, with this Ten of Swords here, it represents you having maybe gone through a period of depression, a period of high anxiety, a period where you have just been down in the slumps or just feeling really awful, like just having maybe things happen in your life that may have been out of your control, and then maybe it's gotten to you mentally. It's gotten to your head. It's eating you up. It happens. When we go through tough times, it's hard not to let those moments become ingrained in us, and then we start thinking negatively, and then we start having a lot of anxiety about this thing happening and that thing happening, etc., right? So the energy that you bring into the room can be a little bit heavy. It can be a little bit heavy because the Ten of Swords is a heavy card. People can see almost like I don't know if I want to use the word trauma, but maybe for some of you it is trauma. But people can see sort of the trauma on you. And that's a wild statement to say because trauma is not necessarily visible. But I think the way that you carry yourself and the energy that you bring, people can tell that you have gone through a lot. Maybe you're somebody who has like very sad eyes. It's possible that you just like to talk about the things that you've gone through, and that's why people are picking up on this energy. Or maybe it's just, like I said, your presence and your demeanor that people feel this weight and they feel this heaviness when they talk to you. But the good thing about this is that this isn't like a vibe that you stay in. You may come in the room with this sort of heaviness to you, but we have the Seven of Cups and the Star card here. And those are cards of possibility, optimism, and feeling like that there are bigger and better things out there. That there's more to see than meets the eye, that you have this whole world that you haven't experienced and that you haven't seen. So though it may start off heavy, you may be like, well, let's say you're in a situation and you're going out with coworkers, and the coworkers say, hey, would you like a drink? And you say, you know what? Sorry, I don't drink. I'm an alcoholic. That would be like that heaviness. This is not all of you, right? I'm just throwing an example out there so you get an understanding of how the cards are telling their story. And they're like, oh, okay, that's that heaviness. And then, but we have also the Seven of Cups and the Star, and it's like, well, I've been sober, 10 years. And it's like, oh, okay, so you changed your life around. You gave yourself more options. You painted a better picture and you gave yourself a better life. So it's kind of like giving that sort of energy where you've come in from a dark place and you've risen to a place that is that is brighter, better, more fulfilling, and more exciting just in general. So the vibe that you give is this vibe of transformation and change, and looking at past wounds and seeing a rock bottom and being able to come out of that situation not defeated and no longer jaded, and feeling light and understanding that there are better things on the horizon. That's the energy that you bring into the room. The feeling that things can get better. The understanding that circumstances can change. Being able to look at the possibility. Being able to go through a period of darkness, being a fighter, essentially, especially with this Ace of Wands energy, because Wands will put up a fight. So it's like, I fought through this craziness, I fought through this mess, I fought through this unpredictability, this chaos, this turmoil, and I came out stronger on the other side. You may have gained spiritual insight. You may have gained some sort of purpose, new purpose is what I'm seeing here. So it's actually a really great vibe is what I'm getting. And then with the Seven of Cups here, because sometimes Seven of Cups can be confusion and something along the lines of that. People may not even be able to see as much past hurt as you have even gone through. Like, they can see the hurt for sure, but they really can't even bother to guess the extent of things, right? With the Seven of Cups energy, it makes things blurry, it makes things confusing, and so they're just like, okay, I'm happy that you came out on the other side, and maybe I would like some clarity on, you know, some of the things that you've gone through, but honestly, you know, we're happy you're here. We're happy that you're bringing this positive energy. We're happy that you are this new, inspired, unique, intelligent person. And the thing about the Star card is it also represents people who can be like one of a kind, somebody who's like very accomplished or rare or something like that. Like, let's say you were 7 foot, that would be represented by the Star card, because it's like not a usual thing that's happening. Most people are not close anywhere near 7 foot. So there's something about you that's very unique and different and sets you apart from other people. And I just want to throw that out there for you, pile number 1, that you're bringing this vibe of uniqueness, of almost even being like maybe a little bit intangible, because the Star card can represent distance. It can represent like, I'm trying to sort of get into this person's head, or I'm trying to get closer and more intimate with this person, but it feels like this person is just, you know, light years away. And that could be mentally light years away, because Seven of Cups can be like a daydream type card, and with the Star here. But also it can represent just feeling like somebody is even like a little bit, yeah, like if you're encountering insecure people, some of those insecure people may feel like you're a little bit better than them, or like that you are somebody who people can look up to in a way because of the things that you've gone through and overcome. So you're bringing this element, this energy of elevation is what I want to say. Elevation. That's the word I definitely want to use, where you're all about I've got to elevate my life, my thoughts, my being. I've got to be inspired. I've got to do the things that I want to do. I've got to focus on the areas that I want to focus on. And I'm determined to do so. And so in a way, you're kind of like inspiring other people around you. If I haven't said that already, they feel like, wow, like I want to go out and do the things that I want to do. I want to do certain things like similar to you or something along the lines of that. But they feel inspired. So you bring an energy of inspiration and possibility and hope and wonder. So people feel excited when you start talking, because maybe you're very idealistic and you're always talking about new things and directions that you can go in, and feeling like it's never impossible or never too late to do something. And people like that. They love that. In fact, they're like, yeah, you know what? It is right. I still can become a dentist or whatever the case may be. Like, who cares if I'm 40? I can go and be a lawyer. I can still be a millionaire. I can still, I don't know, be a celebrity if that's what you want to be. I can still learn to pick up that flute. I can whatever. Like, you give this energy of possibility and hope and wonder and inspiration. Now with Venus and Chiron here, it's interesting, but I kind of feel like the first thing that came to mind is that you may remind people of somebody close to them. Like, you may hear this a lot where people are like, oh, you remind me of this friend that I have, or you remind me of this person I knew once, or you remind me of this person. It could just be like your appearance. Maybe you have like a look that's, I don't know, popular, but I doubt it though, because with the Star card there, it's kind of like there's something about your appearance that's like different or unique or something, whatever. But something about you, maybe some element of your personality reminds people of someone or something, or maybe somebody they previously admired in the past. But whatever case, I just want to throw that in there so they get this feeling of like familiarity when it comes to you on some level. But obviously something about your appearance or accomplishments is very unique. Interesting. So it must be some sort of aspect of your personality. I don't know what it is, but there's some sort of aspect. They're like, you're so different, but you sort of remind me this area of your personality. Maybe it's like, oh, you have the same sense of humor as my brother, or you blah 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 blah. Whatever the case may be. But there's some aspect of your personality invokes familiarity with people, and so I think that's bringing in a sense of comfort and maybe even excitement. Not sure. It's possible. Very excitement. Very like, to some people, maybe even very, very attractive in a way. Maybe you have like a very like seductive type of energy. Maybe you remind people of their ex-boyfriends, their ex-girlfriends, ex-wives, ex-husbands, whatever the case may be. You know, maybe they're like, oh, this person has, you know, a similar hair color as my ex, and da 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 da. And that's what they're thinking. But whatever the case may be, whenever you enter the room, the vibe and energy you bring in, people are just kind of like, something about this person. The way they laugh kind of reminds me of this guy I used to date 2 years ago. Like, you know what I mean? Something like that. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make here, because that's not important, but I had to throw that out there because it's something small and it first popped into my mind. But the point I want to make here is this Venus and Chiron, which can be very healing energy, especially when it comes to sort of like relational traumas, because Venus represents relationships and obviously Chiron represents past wounds. And so something about your vibe and energy has to do with like healing and letting go of past traumas and not letting the people who hurt you, or maybe even the people that you've hurt, control your life, not feeling a sense of like shame or guilt. Instead, you acknowledge the things that were done to you, or maybe things that you've done to other people, and you grow and you move forward so that you are no longer that person and that you can be your best possible self. And I really do feel like this energy is so comforting to people, because people may feel like, oh, I just feel a sense of shame or guilt about this, or I feel like I can never let go of this and this and this. But when they see you, they see how much you have grown emotionally, or how you have changed and transformed yourself, that they're like, you know what? If you can go through these things, or if you can change these aspects of yourself, I can do that too. I can develop too. I can show more empathy and compassion, not only to others, but to myself. I can think in more positive ways. I can let go of this Ten of Swords thinking, this negative, this bad thing's going to happen, that bad thing's going to happen. I'm scared of this. I'm scared of that. I don't want this to happen. Nothing's ever going to go my way. They're like, you know what? I'm going to let that go. I'm going to let go of negative thinking, because I see that you're letting go of negative thinking, and I see all the possibilities and great things that it's brought into your life because of it. So you really bring this very, very inspirational energy. Very inspirational when it comes to transforming how these people are forming relationships, how these people are looking at their lives and the people that have affected them, the ways that they think, the way that they care for themselves, the way that they feel safe, the way that they care for others and create safe space for others. People, like the energy you bring in is so authentic and so vulnerable that people feel like they can also be their genuine and unguarded selves around you. And that they can be, there's this boost of confidence that you invite and bring into others. Maybe they just see you being your genuine true self and they feel like, you know what, I'm going to be my genuine true self and we're going to see what happens. So it's almost like you bring this boldness, this fire, this spark within people. It's like, it's really great that you're able to powerfully transform this. And it makes sense because the star's connected to Aquarius. And, you know, they're known for being kind of like doing their own thing and and being very, very much so wanting to figure out a way to separate themselves from the crowd while also being able to maintain the attention of the masses in a way. But very much a magnetic and comforting presence and vibe and energy that you bring into a room. And the thing about this Aquarius vibe is, in astrology, if we go to Western astrology, Shravana is located in the sign of Western Aquarius. And so a lot of Western Aquariuses, which I did a video on this, having to do with legends, not legends, yeah, I mean legacy, having to do with legacy, legends, etc., whatever. And so what I'm seeing here is the vibe that you bring in leaves a very lasting impression, because the whole point was Shravana is connected to Aquarius, which is this part here, and Shravana had to do with legacy and leaving lasting impressions. And so that's something that you do. You bring in a vibe that leaves a lasting impression because you're so unique and you help others transform their way of thinking or the way that they do things in particular, and how they approach sort of relationships and creating safe space and allowing others to be bold and be themselves. And healing those relational traumas through empathy and understanding and being very nurturing. The thing about the star card in Aquarius is that it's the water bearer, meaning it carries the weight for other people. That's why in Vedic astrology, Shravana is located in the 10th house of Capricorn, of leadership. And what happens when you're a leader is that you hold the weight of the people. And so when you come into the room, you may have this heaviness with you, but it's not just your heaviness. You're taking on other people's heaviness as well. You're carrying their weight. You're allowing other people to shed their tears. Look how the star card is pouring this water into the ground and into the lake or puddle, whatever the case is here. That is allowing other people to flow through you, to pour and let out their emotions around you, let out their feelings around you, let out, their angers or frustrations around you, and you're here and you're tranquil and you're calm and you're just letting them do whatever they have to do, open up and just let it flow. And so that is what I have for you, pal number one. You bring such open energy into the room. You're so bold. You're so creative and interesting. And you are pretty much also funny. But I didn't know how to put that in there. I'll just throw that in there now. Funny. So that is what I'm going to leave it there as. And I hope you enjoyed the reading. If not, maybe choose another pal, or maybe I'm not the reader for you. Either way, I'm very happy you stopped by. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you next time. Au revoir. Hey, pal number two. Let's get started on the energy that you bring into a room. Cards are really sticking together. We got the Justice card, the King of Pentacles, the Three of Pentacles, and Neptune and Pluto. All right away, we know that you are somebody who's really good at acknowledging others, building relationship with other people, being able to communicate effectively. When we have Justice card, it becomes all about strong communication, seeking balance, seeking fairness, not just hearing one side of an issue. If someone comes to you and says, do you know what so-and-so said to me? They said da-da-da-da. You're like, okay, that doesn't sound that great, da-da-da, or it sounds wonderful. Let me hear their side of things, right? So you're the type of person who just needs to understand both perspectives. You're not someone who is trying to lean to one side or the other or display some type of bias. So you bring this energy of fairness and balance into the room with you. You have a sense of strong perspective. You're someone who is very much like a intellectual person. Someone who doesn't just rely on, feelings and intuition, though that may be part of it, but you also enjoy looking at the facts, looking at what actually happened, looking at what's in front of you. So definitely this strong, level-headed energy is the vibe that's coming across when people are interacting with you. You're very reflective. You're someone who is definitely people-oriented, meaning like you think of other people's feelings. You try to think of their perspective. You try to, you basically just try to put yourself in other people's shoes. And I think it makes you a strong communicator, and thus you're bringing this sometimes even mediator energy. Like if people are having a lot of arguments or disagreements, you're the type of person to step in and say, okay, let's calm this down. What are you trying to say here? What are you trying to say here? And let's see if we can learn to understand each other, see where we agree on, and try to ensure that some understanding is reached. We have that mediator energy when it comes to this Justice card. And that's because Justice is connected to Libra. And Libras can definitely be mediators. I remember when I was working as a waitress once, this doesn't have to do with mediation, but it does have to do with the strong communication skills of Libras. And I was shadowing a person, and I think we had run out of a certain item. And the person that I was like shadowing, they suggested something else. They said, oh, we don't have that item, but we could try this item over here. And the customer's like, oh, that's a little bit more expensive. And, right off the bat, they had a response. Well, they're like, well, that's because it's better quality and you'll definitely enjoy it more and it'll be worth the money. Like something like a quick response that was very much charismatic, very intuitive, very sharp. And not only that, but this particular individual versus all of the other individuals that I shadowed had a great deal of knowledge when it came to the food. And also they were great at more so marketing themselves and marketing their services, which makes sense because Libra is the house of the marketplace, is the house of business, right? Along with Gemini. So they tried to set themselves apart from other waitresses in the way that they communicated and their knowledge, and as well as how they chose to, interact with customers, especially when it came to sort of like boxing their food or etc. So creating their own unique style. And so people may feel that with you. They may feel like that you're someone who always has something, the right words to say, the right combination that makes people feel at ease, that you may be bringing a lot of positive energy, a lot of positive influence, that people feel like they like talking to you, they feel like you bring a sense of understanding, that you can be a very fair and just generally open individual, okay? I'll say that. And as I mentioned before, we have two cards that represent sort of deep reflection. And that's something I think it's very positive, very obvious to the people around you that you are a very sharp and intelligent individual, right? We've got Libra card here. We got Virgo card here with the Hermit. So you can be extroverted and want to talk to people, but you also need moments to yourself. But what it's saying here is you really think strongly about the way people act, how they present themselves, and the way that they communicate themselves to you. as well as you try to understand the best way to communicate with others, come together with others. Basically, you bring this energy of harmony into a room. You're somebody who wants to ensure everyone's getting along, especially with this Three of Pentacles here. Everyone's head is in the same space, that there's always a mutual understanding between other people, that you're thinking deeply about the people around you, understanding yourself, understanding others, that you are indicating to others that you have a strong sense of responsibility. So not only are you taking care of your own personal needs, but you're also benefiting others, especially with the King and Three of Pentacles as well. So your energy is very like giving in a way, or very much altruistic, very much compassionate, very much like you're thinking of everyone. You're not just thinking about yourself. You have a very like selfless energy that you're bringing into the room. And I think that's indicated in at least, you know, 3 of these cards. I'm going to see the Hermit can be a little bit more self-serving, but it's fine, because we all have to think about ourselves at some point. Like, we all have to take care of our own selves. And even then, the Hermit is a guide. So they're helping other people, even though they're looking inward. They're providing advice, or providing information, or providing, you know, something towards another person at some point after they look inward, right? They're this light that guides other people. And so people may feel like you're very informative, like that waitress example I gave, where the Libra person was very informative, very intellectual, very much like trying to make sure everyone gets along. And I think that comes together really nicely with this Neptune and Pluto energy, because this can represent being very thoughtful as well as introspective. And Neptune and Pluto, the last time, or at least around the last time that they had like conjunct in the sky, was 1892, like around that period. You know, maybe like a few years, you know, 1893 or 1891, whatever the heck. But that's around the time they last conjuncted. They don't come together often. It's like almost at 490 something years, like a very long time it takes for them to come together. But anyway, around that time period, 1892, there was a lot of push towards, in certain countries, at least in America and some Western countries, towards focusing on urbanization, labor rights, as well as women's rights as well, like women's suffrage in particular. Around that time was a focus. And, you know, there was some push towards civil rights within America, but there was a lot of pushback when it came to African American stuff. But there was momentum, and those ideas were coming forth with this Neptune and Pluto energy coming together. People were saying, hey, we want to be treated fairly. We don't want to work 80, 90, 20 hours a week. We don't want to be denied from a job or treated unfairly based on our race or the color of our skin. Women were like, we want the right to vote. We're equal to men. We want our own money. We want our own independence. We want to be freedom. We want that freedom. And so people are starting to focus on creating a society that is advocating towards equality and fairness. And I think that goes along quite strongly, like equally. It goes well. They come together well, meshes well with your reading. Because the first thing we saw here was that energy that you brought in, wanting to promote fairness, wanting to promote equality. And this was a time period that also there were a lot of people advocating towards fairness, inclusivity, and equality. People wanted their perspectives heard. They wanted more diversity. They wanted more inclusion. They wanted more respect. They wanted less divisive natures, especially in the West. Now, this is a very positive reading, and I'm pretty sure for 99.9% of you, it's really all great news. But I will say something about maybe that small 0.1% of you who people may just, you may be rubbing the people the wrong way. When Neptune Pluto energy can come together, it can also be kind of a little oppressive. During this time period, there was also a great deal of colonization and exploitation of a lot of African countries and colonies. So even though a lot of African countries, etc., were fighting back in their own way, they kept being oppressed by a lot of European countries and were treated terribly. I mean, terribly is a light way to say it. It's incredibly inhumane. So sometimes this energy can be highly like, I'm going to oppress people. And that's probably for like, you know, the small 0.1% of you who may be jerks, right? But for the most of you, you're really great and you're leaning into the more so liberated aspect of Neptune and Pluto. Because these energies can be very much like opposite, right? They can be like, this is the most liberating thing ever, or this can be the most oppressive, like horrible energy ever, right? Just keeping that in mind. And lastly, something I want to keep in mind is during that period, 1892, there was a lot more urbanization. We're moving away from like a farmer's society, a farmer's market, especially like in the West and America in particular. I'm speaking from like that experience. I think globally, I'm trying to think of trends. There was a lot more like nationalism. So people were like more so supporting their own country and wanting less foreigners, etc. Things along the lines of that. But that's what I was saying about urbanization. A lot more push towards like cities and urban environments. People may feel like you're kind of like a city guy or a city girl. Another thing this could possibly mean is that you can come across very modern. So you may be seen as somebody who always has like the latest gadgets, who's on to the latest trends, who has the latest phone, always has the newest phone. Always trying to push towards the latest happening. Oh, did you hear about this new AI art thing? Did you hear about this new AI song making site? Did you hear about, you know, etc. Like always on to the latest thing. Is people may see you in that light, that person who can be up on trends, forward moving. Like I said, maybe even like city boy, city girl vibes. And I don't mean like in the type of like, I'm a city girl, I'm scamming you. Like, not like that vibes, but like literally like urban environment. You know how people are like, okay, I'm more of like a farm southern type of girl, or I'm more of like a city girl or more suburban. Like, I mean that type of way. You know what I mean? And then I guess the last thing, I guess I'll sum it up with saying is that feeling like that you are somebody who is tech savvy. I think I was mentioning that. Always up on the latest technological advancements, always up on cutting edge gadgets, always into things that are like innovative. And then you can come across very empathetic and feeling like you have this transformative energy where when you come into the room and you make your presence known and things like that, people feel like, wow, this person is looking towards all of us. They're not sticking to this one corner and only talking to a small group. They're trying to be inclusive and welcoming and warm. And so you come across with that type of energy is what I want to say in general. So that is what I have. And this also like from like a look perspective, because looks may be the first thing that's like the first thing most people see and notice and pay attention to. Kind of goes into what I was saying, where you may have like a more modern sense of style. And just want to make a comment on that. Like people look at you and you're like, yeah, you're definitely somebody who has like a face that belongs in 2024. So that is what I have. And I'm going to leave it at that. And if this reading resonates with you, please let me know. If it doesn't, maybe I'm not the reader for you, or you could choose another pile. Whatever the case may be, do what you see is best. And I'm so happy that you stopped by. And I will see you next time, pile number 2. You have such like a powerful, transformative energy. People are really connecting with you on a deep level as well. Look, I'm still trying to read. Let me end this, Kirk, and I will see you next time over. Hey, pal, number 3. Let's see what kind of energy you bring into a room. We have the Ace of Pentacles, the 4 of Pentacles, the Knight of Swords, Temperance, and Mercury and Pluto. Okay, so this is interesting. Definitely you bring a vibe that shows that you are very supportive person, that you're somebody who is a team player, who's down to earth, who's more relaxed, who can be very grounded, who has like basically a good head on their shoulders. Like you're bringing in this very relaxed energy here that we see, very, very laid back. But it may to some people be a little bit too laid back, because the 4 of Pentacles can be someone who's a little bit more reserved, someone who can be a little bit more shy, someone who likes to, you know, keep to themselves. They may not be the most open person, because the 4 of Pentacles represents, you know, being a little insecure, being a little bit more fearful, being someone who's, you know, scared to, you know, be judged by others or be bullied or whatever the case may be. We all have our past and reasons for those insecurities, but it's bringing in an energy where you're like, oh, I don't know if I can say this thing. I'm not sure how to act around this person. I'm not sure if this is the best environment for me. Like you're just very much like hesitant to dive in and fully be yourself. Now that's the energy people feel that you're bringing. They feel like you're holding back. You could literally just be just a more laid back person who's just, you know, if you don't have anything to say, then you don't want to have to contribute to the conversation. You're just tactful in that way. It also means that you're somebody who is focused like on your success, and that's evident, who can be very like professional in their demeanor. Like someone who is just not going to do their best not to say the wrong thing, and to keep the energy within the room to be very peaceful, like this Temperance card over here. When we have this Knight of Swords here, it kind of just goes back into what I was saying with the 4 of Pentacles, where you could be sometimes a little bit, I mean, and we all have these moments. We all have moments where we are just, you know, awkward. We say the wrong thing, we do the wrong thing. There's like weird pauses in between conversations. In fact, the other day, like I had a weird conversation with someone as well, very awkward in terms of, you know, I could tell that they, like this 4 of Pentacles, they may have wanted me to speak a little bit more, but at that point I was kind of tired and I didn't really have much to expand upon within the conversation, so I kept my answer very short. That could be something that you guys may be doing, where you're keeping your answers and your responses very short, very much to the point, very direct energy. An interesting thing about the Knight of Swords is, reversed or upright, the Knight of Swords is still a little bit like working on their communication either way. It's just, they're just trying to learn to navigate the appropriate landscape of how to navigate when they should say something, how they should say it, working on their tone, learning to how to communicate, what method of communication does this person prefer, or what things does this person like to converse about. They're just trying to, you know, learn the intricate parts of conversation and social interactions, and they're trying to gain their footing. So what this is kind of displaying is that the energy you bring into the room is that you are kind of somebody who has good intentions from what I've seen here, because people do see that positive energy, but they feel like you're someone who can be maybe a little bit like confused, I guess is the word I want to use, or unsure of how to navigate conversations with certain people. Whether that is a similar situation like how I was, where I was just like, hey, I'm tired, I don't want to talk. Or if you're just saying, hey, I'm not like quite sure what to say to this person. You know, maybe you're coming across people who are very like opinionated, very like, this is what I think, this is how I feel. And you're just like, okay, you seem to have a lot of strong feelings about that. Not really sure what to say to that or add to that conversation in that way. And the reason for that, I think, is because you have this Mercury-Pluto energy. And Mercury-Pluto energy, I notice, they want to dive deep. They want to ask why. And normally when you ask people why, a lot of times people will give you very like superficial answers. For example, you may say, oh, why does this person feel sad? And somebody will say, oh, because, you know, they're just depressed. They'll give an answer like that. And you're like, that's not really an answer. I want to know what's going through this person's head, what they're thinking, what their thoughts are. How did they come to be this way? What's their childhood like? What experiences did they have? Like, you want to go very deep. Okay. You want to go dive in deep. That's the energy that you're trying to bring. And I feel like when you kind of come into a room, you're not sure how to interact with certain people because they're not giving that layer of deepness that you are searching for. So for you, you're like, I don't know how to make this small talk. Like, I'm not into this small talk. I'm not interested in it. It doesn't feel right to me. It's not something I can connect with. I feel like people are misunderstanding what I'm saying, or they're not engaging in a way that I enjoy. And so people can kind of feel that you may be, if not shy, maybe a little bit disinterested in certain conversations. Not all of them, but you just really, really want to go deep. Like, you really want to focus and talk about things that are at the core of communications and thoughts and human relationships. Like, you want to talk about real connections and real values and how people think and how people move and how they can go deep in personal development. Like, you want to go deep. You're not getting that. And thus, there can be the energy you bring into the room is kind of like this, maybe a little bit frustrated, some of you, or just feeling like, man, I don't know where to jump in. What am I supposed to respond to that? How am I supposed to respond to that? Like, that's kind of like the energy you're bringing. Like, what am I saying here? Like, what's supposed to be going on here? Okay. And then maybe for a small portion of you, sometimes the Knight of Swords can represent, you know, speaking without thinking, or jumping into a conversation in an awkward time, or being a little bit like, sometimes a little like nosy from afar. Like, people are talking about something and this combination is like, oh, let me eavesdrop real quick. You know what I mean? Like, a little bit nosy. Don't get me wrong. Nobody really seems to mind that much with the Temperance here. Temperance card is just like, you know, they're like one of us. Like, we're all awkward, right? So nobody cares and they're not judgmental of it or anything, but they just notice those things. Generally, people like the energy you bring into the room because you come across very accepting. It seems like you are searching for balance. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are achieving it all the time, but it looks like you're willing to listen to what people have to say. You do want to engage with others. You are somebody who can be very accepting and tolerant of what people have to say. You have your own strong thoughts and opinions, but it seems like you are very open to a lot of diverse cultures and everything. And then also, Temperance is ruled by Sagittarius. So you may come across a little bit more worldly. For some people, this can be very spiritual, very religious. For others, it can mean that you are just someone who has a very specific mindset, a very educated mindset. So if you are somebody who is highly educated, which is possible because we have Mercury and Pluto here, and when I get this combination, it can mean like a wealth of knowledge. So you may come across very educated, very intellectual, very smart, very very upper echelon girls and guys, like just very smart individual, somebody who's focused on self-development and personal growth. So that's something that people feel that you are bringing into the room with you. Another thing is like they understand that you have like you very much so have a very calm energy. Let me get into this Pluto Mercury thing because I tend to just like talk forever about certain cards, right? So when we come into this Pluto and Mercury energy, as I was going in before, it can represent a wealth of knowledge because Pluto represents wealth and Mercury is like intellect, knowledge, skills. One thing is you may have like people feel a little bit more of a psychic ability off the bat. That's pretty obvious with this combination. That you have a heavy knowledge of the occult. Temperance here can represent expertise because it's connected to Sagittarius. And this could be like Pluto and Mercury in Sagittarius, which means a specific wealth and knowledge in particularly psychic areas or areas that can be taboo or things that aren't typically talked about in public. Areas that are, it will be a weird awkward conversation to have with your boss, right? That's what that Pluto energy represents, right? So they feel like that you have some sort of wealth or intellect or knowledge in a specific area that may be, you know, like I said, off the beaten path, maybe taboo, maybe like dealing with the occult, something along the lines of that. And the energy you're bringing is just like, oh, this person seems to be very eclectic or even mysterious in some way. And then also, you have like a powerful, either like your voice, your tone sounds very powerful. You have a very powerful way of communicating, or the things that you say just carry a lot of weight and heaviness to it. So that is something that is very interesting because I follow an astrologer and she also has Pluto in the third house. And she's very good at making predictions. So people may feel that you're somebody who is very great at making accurate predictions when it comes to things. Like, I think this is going to happen. I think they're behaving this way because of this. I think this person likes da-da-da-da. I think this person has thoughts like this. Like, the things you're saying seem to be coming true and seem to be very accurate in that sense. And just seem to be very much like, oh, that seems like that might be on the nose, and then it comes true. So people feel like, whoa, how did this person know this? So there's like that psychic sort of element to it. And the reason I say Pluto in the third house is because Mercury is connected to the third house and rules Gemini. So let me throw that in there. I didn't even get into all the things I wanted to say. Pluto and Mercury can also mean that you're bringing in an energy that has to do with wealth, meaning that you are somebody who may either look expensive because like if you're energy and you're bringing energy into a room, the first thing people notice is how you look and how you appear. And so your presentation may look very put together and very wealthy and very neat and very refined. Mercury and Pluto say this, Ace of Pentacles and say this, and Four of Pentacles can be this way. Four of Pentacles is like a little bit more of a perfectionist where they're like, I don't want anyone to touch me. Don't look at me. I just got my hair done. Don't touch it. Like it's that type of energy. And they will focus on little details of like, I want my nails to look like this. It's just very much like, I do not want to have any real major noticeable flaws, right? That type of like boxed energy. Like it's very tight energy. And so you may come across in a way of somebody who either has a lot of money or is somebody who is just takes care of their appearance. Okay, so that's something that could be important to you guys. I just want to throw that out there because you may be giving that impression that you put a lot of time and effort into your appearance. This can also mean that I think the last time I had Mercury conjunct like Pluto, it was like a aspect. I'm trying to remember if it was, I think it was transit Mercury conjunct Pluto, or maybe it was just Mercury Mercury transit Pluto in my chart, whatever. But anyway, around that time, I had actually, because you guys know that I had been unemployed for a long period. Actually, it was like the day that Mercury and Pluto conjunct that my unemployment period ended. But that same day was the first time that I got like a job opportunity in a long time. Not like, I think it had been like 2 months since I had any like communications about job interviews, or 2 or 3 months or something like that. So that same day that unemployment ended, I get an interview for a job, and I actually got the job. So do want to say that. So it can also mean that you're this person who seems like you bring in like a lot of financial opportunities, or you have maybe like a lot of ideas and ways to make money. Just want to throw that out there because it'd be, you know, strange of me not to mention the money aspect of things. Or maybe you have like a lot of conversations about money. Maybe you're somebody who's like, oh, let's talk about stock. Let's talk about Roth IRAs. Let's talk about the economy. Let's talk about investments. Like, you're bringing in this energy where you want to talk money. Like, you want the big talks about things that have to do with stability, have to do with ensuring that people are living in comfort, ensuring that financial needs are met. Maybe like somebody says, oh, I love going to eat out a lot. And you're somebody who responds like, wow, that's kind of expensive. Like you're someone who's trying to think practically, and maybe you have positive intentions, right? The cards are for the most part positive with a little bit of like shyness or maybe awkwardness, but for the most part positive. And they're saying like, oh yeah, I mean, it is a lot of money. So you're bringing up these conversations that can be like, let's talk about this. You're saying you're spending like this. Like, what do you mean you're spending like this? Like, you're the one throwing that out there. Like, you're making maybe those financial comments or something along the lines of that. Gosh, there's a lot to say. This is so long. I'm gonna wrap this up. Maybe one day I'll have to do like a deep dive. I might have to do like a deep dive, like 4 or 3 pile reading, and I could just talk for things for like 30 or 40 minutes. But so we have this Pluto powerful energy talking, like bringing in these like mysterious force type of energy coming in from you, having like the power in your hands, having a lot of like, you have like a lot of people's attention when you kind of enter the room, especially when you start speaking, maybe because you hold back so much so they're kind of curious what you're thinking. But definitely people feel like they want to pay attention to what you have to say, and you really sort of like move the conversation in a new direction is what I'm saying, getting from this reading off the bat. It may be done in a way that's unexpected, or people were like, oh, I didn't think they were going to say that. That's not the direction I thought they were going. But it brings up some important topics and some very interesting ways of thinking. It's just that you're somebody who just like, I mean, it's kind of just what I mentioned before. You want to go deeper. You want to think about things deeper. You just want to throw that out there in the conversation. And I don't know if people are as receptive as you would like them to be, but it is the energy you're bringing into the room. Very strategic type of energy. Like, people really know that they can see that you're thinking about what you want to say. They can see how analytical you are. They can see how focused you can be. How influential your words are. Just very, very influential. A very penetrative communicator is like the energy that you're bringing. Okay, very profound things you have to say. Just a very like I guess the word I want to use is a little bit more magnetic. And the focus is 100% on your knowledge, your communication, how you come together with others. Not to say that your, appearance isn't magnetic in that way, because I'm sure that's a part of it. But for you, you're giving off this aura that just commands attention and also makes people feel like they're being heard and accepted, which is really amazing. So that's what I'm going to end with now. There's like a billion things I want to talk about because I have like a million ideas in my head. You know what? Maybe I'll leave off on this, that you are really analyzing the things that people have to say. And I think the response to that is that people feel like maybe like the first part of them is a little bit defensive to that. But ultimately, I think they see that your intentions aren't necessarily bad. You just want to talk about certain concepts and ideas that will reveal deeper truths, and thus they may not be ready for those conversations. So you're ready to change the transformation. You're ready to talk about something deeper. You're ready to go into things that people don't necessarily want to talk about at that moment. They kind of want to keep things a little surface. And so that is what I have for you, pal. Number 3, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Your energy is so powerful, and since it's so powerful, hit that like button and definitely 100% comment. I want to hear what you have to say, especially this pal right here. And if you don't resonate, maybe I'm not the reader for you, and that's okay. That's okay. Hopefully I will see you next time. Hey, pal, number 4, let's get started on your reading and the energy that you bring into the room. We have the Knight of Wands, the Chariot, the 10 of Pentacles, the Knight of Pentacles. Oh, I can't flip this. And Jupiter and Uranus. All right. This is fantastic. Right away, we know that you bring high energy into a room. You are somebody who is exciting, somebody who is very much like, what's the word I want to give for this? Like very upbeat possibly, or just very enthusiastic, charming, maybe even a little bit flirtatious with the Knight of Wands, because the Knight of Wands can be very flirtatious. Somebody who can be this active, youthful person. So it's almost like you're busy, you're constantly doing something, or invested in this thing and looking at that thing, or talking to this person, then going there and doing this thing. Like you have your hands in a lot of different baskets. Like the Knight of Wands is a very active, enthusiastic, I can't sit still card. So very much a lot of excitable. This excitable is the best word to describe your type of energy that you're bringing into the room. Passionate. Oh, that's a good one for the Knight of Wands. Passionate person. You have a lot of things that you're interested in. You have a lot of ideas, a lot of areas that you're focused on. You have a strong sense of adventure. You're enthusiastic. The Knight of Wands has this very bright and bold, charismatic presence that you're bringing into the room. I think you're the type of person that people start to feel like excited when you're coming around, because you're talking about all of these like maybe adventures you went on. Maybe you're like, you know what, I went to Spain and I had these amazing tapas and they were so incredible, and then after that I came home and I had to go to an adventure park where I took my kids, or I had dinner with a new girl or guy that I'm seeing, and there you just always got some kind of adventure or tale or place or something that you've done, and some story that may go along with it. It's just very interesting energy that I have out here. And then also with the Knight of Wands, because Wands have to do with confidence, you come in with this very confident energy. For some people, because, some people are haters. This can be a little bit cocky, because the Knight of Wands can sometimes be like feeling themselves too much, but that's just for the haters, right? That's what the haters are kind of thinking. But for the most part, people find you confident and very, very charming, okay? I'm going to throw that out there for sure. And one thing I want to talk about with this exciting, loving, free-forming energy is this Jupiter and Uranus energy. Now, normally I'm kind of like reading this way, and then I'm getting to the Jupiter-Uranus energy last. But for your pile, we're going to jump over here to this Jupiter and Uranus energy, because it's hit me so powerfully, because it connects so well with this Knight of Wands enthusiasm here. Jupiter and Uranus is the type of combination that has to do with trying new things, being more excitable, being more open to new adventures and different circumstances, and being able to be someone who is just sort of like free-natured and wanting to wanting to just not be tied down by anything, very explorative type of energy. Like it very much matches that sort of that sort of Knight of Wands energy, which makes sense because Jupiter rules Sagittarius, which is a fire sign. All right. So we've gotten that kind of flaring, enthusiastic energy. And we just had a major Jupiter-Uranus conjunction this year, I believe April 20th. Yeah, because it was on 4/20, right? Which is perfect for a Jupiter-Uranus aspect, if you know what I mean, 4/20. And then you have that sense of freedom and acceptance of all different types of substances and whatever. Perfect energetically aligned nature. So the energy you can bring in is, I want to say, is very much so electrifying and maybe a little bit unpredictable and expansive that we have here. And somebody who can be very open-minded, like I was mentioning before with, liking certain, substances and being sort of adventurous, as I said before. It's this wanting to break boundaries, explore different ideas, go into different directions and areas and territories, and wanting to take on and understand and indulge yourself in new ideas, cultures, and experiences. So you come into the room and you bring apart this very expansive and unusual in a good way, meaning different, meaning you're straying away from what's the expected answer of you, and you're venturing off into a different territory, and you're bringing that energy into the room. You're like, hey guys, have you ever heard of, I'm trying to think of something you may not have heard of. I can't think of anything right now. I don't know. Have you ever heard of ube bagels? It's because I just made ube bagels a couple of weeks back. And people are like, no, I've never heard of ube bagels. Where'd you get ube bagels? And you're like, oh, I got it from this shop down here. And you're bringing in this new energy of check out this new restaurant, check out this new food item. It's amazing. It doesn't specifically have to be that. It could be something totally different. But whatever it is, you're introducing people to new ideas, new concepts, and new things. And what I find very interesting about this particular energy is that Jupiter and Uranus, when it comes together, whether that's conjunction or opposition, I mentioned those aspects because those are its strongest aspects, but the trine and square, sextile, whatever, will do the same thing. But more powerfully, the opposition and conjunction bring about rebellion and wanting equality and spirituality and mysticism and being open to expanding your mind through certain substances and psychedelics and being countercultural. In fact, the first thing that I thought of when I saw the Jupiter and Uranus card was the fact that the writer, one of the co-writers to the musical Hair, which I'm trying to remember his name. I think it's Jerome. I don't remember if that's his first name or last name. But Jerome had his Jupiter opposite Uranus. And he very much so embodies the ideas of Jupiter and Uranus as a concept coming together in astrology. If you've seen the musical Hair, it's about all of those things that I just listed. A little bit of more things because it goes into anti-war. And Jupiter Uranus doesn't necessarily have to be anti-war, but that can be a part of it. But it kind of made sense when it came to more so Hair because it had to do more so with the draft, which is imposing on people's individual freedoms. So, this is a little bit different. But anyway, Hair, the musical, it's about, well, to be honest, it doesn't have a strong plot, but it's been rewritten to have a plot. But its themes are freedom and individuality, wanting to reject societal's norms or pressures, like get a job, go to school. And it's like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to go in the park. I want to sit back. I want to, maybe maybe relax with some, psychedelics, and I want to talk about freedom of expression, or I want to sing, or I want to dance, and maybe I don't want a long-term committed relationship. Maybe I want to be in a polyamorous relationship. Like, it's about expressing yourself, and that's why the music hair is called hair, because it had to do with mainly one of the things in society, and I think I went into this with my moon ruled video. Sorry if I'm cutting off myself. I jump around when it comes to my thoughts, and it can be hard to organize them. I guess that's me being a little dyslexic. That's my dyslexic brain. But essentially what I'm trying to say here is, in our society, hair is seen as a symbolism for freedom. That's why we have so many strange cultural rules and even laws when it comes to hair. I mean, you can even look at the history of this country. We have definitely had laws pertaining to hair. We've even have current laws here. I think the Crown Act in DC to protect mainly African Americans like myself against discrimination when it comes to certain hairstyles. But the point I'm trying to make is hair is being symbolized as a source of freedom, culture, and the ability to express your individuality, as well as, like I said, your culture. It represents your identity. And so when we have the name of the musical being Hair, and the musical being about people being forced to conform to society, it's about rejecting societal's pressure to conform to a certain look. Usually within society, there's a certain look that you have to have your hair. For Black women like myself, the normal standard to have your hair is to like maybe put a perm in it or straighten it or wear a wig or something like that to conform to society, to strip you of your individuality, to strip you of your freedom, to strip you of your identity, and to ensure that you are not who you want to be, but who society wants you to be. So the musical Hair is about rejecting all of that and saying, if I want my hair to grow down my back, I want it to grow down my back. If I want my hair to be an afro, I want it to be an afro. If I don't want to shave my armpits, I'm not going to shave my armpits. I'm not going to be controlled. So hair becomes a symbolism of being countercultural and being anti-control and pro-freedom and pro-individuality. And so you bring that source of energy into the room. You bring the sense of, this is me, I am free, you cannot control me, you cannot tell me what to do, I am powerful, I am confident, I am somebody who knows who I am, knows what I want, and I will not be pushed down or criticized or taken down by other people. All right? All of that long explanation just to go into that, like, man. But that is essentially the energy you're bringing to the room. You really have this strong sense of personal freedom and authenticity. Very liberated. Now, I'm not going to go into everything Jupiter and Uranus represents because we'll be in this thing forever. And you guys know I talk a lot. But essentially, yes. And then also with these two cards together, you come across as somebody who's just very successful. You bring in this powerhouse energy of, I'm somebody who can accomplish my goals. I'm somebody who feels supported and will support other people. I'm somebody who can be very like thoughtful and analytical and detailed. And I notice the small things about people. Hey, I noticed you changed your hair. Hey, I noticed that you have a new jacket. And oh my gosh, don't you normally wear brown shoes? I see that you're wearing black today. You know, like you pay attention to your community and the people around you, and you make people feel comforted, and you make them feel a little bit more so like they're at home. And even if sometimes you can be someone who is maybe not always the most talkative because we don't have any air energy, people know that you're somebody who pays attention, because when you do speak, You have something very powerful to say. You have something that is maybe even shocking to some degree, because when Jupiter and Uranus comes together, it's like, oh, wow, that's something I never thought about. Like, so when you do speak, you're giving people those moments, and that's the energy that you're bringing into the room. You have a very like commanding type of presence, especially with this Chariot here. Like, very much so, like, I'm a leader, but I'm someone who is constantly learning. I'm somebody who is always trying to understand and venture out into the world and gain new insights, new skills. I'm always somebody who's rewriting my goals. I'm always somebody who sees room for improvement, because the Knight of Pentacles is a perfectionist. So you may bring some of that little bit of a perfectionist type energy into the room, where you're always trying to fix things that you wish could be different. I remember one time I went to a party and there was this line, and it was so long. Like, it was so long. It took like 2 hours to get through it, and it's just to go to the bar. And I remember I was with somebody I just met. I'm not with them like romantically. Like, I literally just met this person. We were standing next to each other. And he started talking about how he wished that he could improve the line situation. Like, he had taken a class that had to do with constructing lines, constructing cues in the best possible way to ensure that people were organized. And he's like, at first I thought that class is useless until I saw this party here where applying some of those principles of that class to this situation would be ideal. And so what I mean when I mention this scenario is that you may be the type of person that is always looking for solutions when you enter a room like that person I was talking about with the line. You're looking to apply the knowledge that you have learned to the scenarios in front of you, because that's what the Knights do. They're students. Oops, sorry. They're students of the, knocked my phone over. They're students of the world. And so they're always trying to improve and grow and use the tools and the knowledge that they have learned and apply it. And so you're somebody who's always trying to fix things, always trying to make things better, always trying to upgrade things, or maybe even trying to help and benefit other people. And so the energy that you bring into the room is like, let me try to elevate people. Let me try to liberate people. Let me try to let people know that their dreams can come true, that they can be this strong person, that they can get the things that they want in life, that they can form a sense of community. And honestly, the energy that you bring in is automatically like, when I get the 10 of Pentacles, it's like you belong here. Like, so people feel like it's just natural that like you fit right in. You don't, even if you have some kind of maybe oddball or any, maybe oddball's not the word, that sounds harsh, but maybe you have some kind of out there ideas or different ideas. It doesn't matter. People feel like, you know what, that person's a little quirky, but we like them. We like them. We like what they have to say. We like the energy that they're bringing in. It just feels natural and normal, okay? It feels like whenever you come into a room or you come into a space, people just feel like you're a part of the group, that you're part of the vibe, like you match the energy of the room. So that is what I have for you, pal number 4. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Sometimes I have to cut myself off because I don't want these videos to be, I don't want each pal to be an hour, even though I still have some things that I would like to say. I did that to another pal where I was like, cut myself off as I was still saying goodbye, because I didn't even get into like, you know, the spiritual and the mysticism, or like having this like youthful rebellious spirit of like, you know, let's play hooky and let's, you know, skip this work event and, you know, I'll meet you in the bathroom, like type of energy that you're coming off here. Or like, let's not listen to authority, let's like go off and do our own thing and, you know, pretend we're sick and miss this meeting or something. Like, there's sort of like this kind of youthful rebellion to you as well. But let me just end it, and I'm gonna say you guys have great energy. It was great reading for you. If this doesn't resonate, feel free to choose another pal, or maybe I'm not the reader for you. You never know. But either way, I had a great time, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm definitely curious at what you have to say, and I obviously want to hear it because you guys sound amazing. So that is all for now. Au revoir. Hey, file number 5, let's get started on your reading and what energy you bring into a room. We have the 8 of Swords, the 4 of Wands, okay, the 2 of Wands, the 5 of Wands, so many wands, my goodness, and Jupiter. Wow, you're a fiery type of energy, man. You have a lot of enthusiasm about you, man. I guess you don't slow down at all. So right away, I am looking at these cards, and the first thoughts that come to mind is that you may be a little bit slow to open up at first, but when you do, you're like a firecracker, man. You are coming with the jokes, because sometimes we get the 5 of Wands to be a little bit like, oh, she's coming with a little banter, or he's coming with a little banter. Like, you got some jokes, you got some funny things that you're saying. You're very unique, you're very different. I think what it's coming off is like you like to observe and assess the situation first for when you come into a room, especially with the 2 of Wands here. The 2 of Wands just likes to look out at everything and see what's going on. And the 4 of Wands, obviously you want to join you in, you want to, you know, vibe with everyone, you want to have a good time. Like, so you're coming in wanting to have a good time, and you just need to assess the situation first before you're like, oh, well, let me dive in and let me have some fun with everyone. Let's play some games. Let's have a good time. Let's make jokes. Like, let's go back and forth and things along the lines of that. And I love how we got this Jupiter. I'm sorry, that was my little phone. I love, as I was saying, I love how we got this Jupiter energy, because Jupiter rules a fire sign, and that fire sign is Sagittarius. I mean, it also rules Pisces, but Jupiter is kind of like, okay, that fiery aspect of Jupiter is coming in. That Sagittarius, bold, courageous, directness energy. You are the type of person who people feel like you may just say it as it is, be very, very direct. Especially, we got all this fire here. So much fire. So much fire energy here. So many wands. It's just like, wow, you've got a lot of energy to talk to people, socialize. It can represent confidence, being charismatic. You know, to some degree, it can be quite literal, where some of you, and obviously I'm going to say this is maybe a small portion of you, it may not apply to everyone, but some of you could be insecure and be like competing with other people. That's maybe for a small portion of you. But for the other half of you, it's more like, oh, this is just jokes. We're just having fun. It's just games. Anyway, but the energy you bring into the room definitely has to do with trying to keep things lively, trying to be upbeat. Like, if people are kind of in a slum or something, you're not coming in that way with this 8 of Swords energy, but for the most part, you're like, okay, let's liven this up, because like this is boring. Like, we can't have you guys sitting off to the sidelines. We need to create some passion and enthusiasm and inspiration and motivate people, and, you know, make connections, because the wands can represent wanting to make connections with people. Generally, the wands are more so about personal growth, but when we talk about wands, because they're connected to fire signs, so fire signs like Leo, which is like the house of fun, games, excitement, joy, like dating, romance, just having a ball. And as I was talking about earlier with Sagittarius, which has to do with having connections with other people, competition as well. People don't see it that way, but it's that way. So something like the Olympics would be Sagittarius, publishing, media, even propaganda to some degree. Things that rule sort of like your belief system, your higher aspirations, how you want to go about achieving your goals in your careers, your mentors, people who look up to you, whatever the case. This is all that Sagittarius energy. And so there is an element to this fire energy here, this wand energy, that has to do with spirituality and having personal power and personal growth. And so you're bringing in this energy in which you are showing people, I guess, in a way, you're just expressing yourself. You're just like being, excuse me, you're being true to yourself. You're connecting with others through your inner power. And maybe sometimes, I'll say maybe sometimes it's not a great fit all the time, because you're being so true to yourself that people are like, oh, I don't know about this person. Everybody's not for everybody, right? That's just the case. That's life. I'm not for everybody. You're not for everybody. It is what it is. But you're genuine into yourself. And you don't really care about the haters. You're just like, whatever. Doesn't matter to me. You're one to just put yourself out there to grow and to make connections with people and to have a great time. And I feel like you're trying to understand other people's perspectives. You may come into points where you're in disagreements, because like I said, with that Sagittarius, Jupiter energy, it does have to do with having strong beliefs. And when we get the Five of Wands here, it can be like, okay, the energy you bring into the room is like, let me test people and how strongly they stand on their beliefs. Like, let's say, what's that thing on the internet that was like super popular? It was like a list of like places women don't want to go on first dates on. So maybe you come into the room and you say, you're talking to people, you guys are just making jokes and stuff, you're having fun. And you say, hey, did you see that list of places women don't want to go on dates for? So it's kind of bringing in this like, let me stir up the vibes energy that Five of Wands is there. Like, along with this Two of Wands, you want to see how people react. You want to see what people are going to say. You want to see what their personal belief systems are when it comes to things like that, right? I'm using something very light, something very silly, but it could be something along the lines of that. It could be even something more serious, where you started bringing in more like political opinions along the lines of that. It definitely can represent bringing on those political opinions and wanting to... Excuse me, pal number 5. I had to get some water real quick. I don't know what was in my throat, but you could be bringing up situations where you're trying to gauge people's political opinions, their own personal insights, their own personal beliefs and motivations, and what gets them out of bed in the morning. You just really want to understand what people are feeling and thinking, and what motivates them. Along those lines is what I'm getting here. And I think people just feel like you're someone who just brings across an energy where you show that you are interested in expanding and achieving your dreams. Okay? I already mentioned how sometimes you may be a little bit shy at first. You're trying to gauge and understand the situation in front of you and where you fit into the dynamics and along the lines of that. And maybe you want to have some fun, have some games. Maybe for a small portion of you, you could literally be combative. Like, that's probably a small portion of you. But you just want to keep things going. You want to keep things high energy. That's you. You're Mr. and Mrs. High Energy, stirring things up, maybe just making the conversation a little bit spicy. You're like, let's get out of this this little wallflower energy and go out there and see what exactly it is that we can connect on, or we can vibe on, or even that we can, compete with or talk about, or cause quite a buzz and get people going. You just want to get things going. Others see you as somebody who is willing to quite literally go to places people don't normally go to, or even figuratively, as I mentioned before, willing to bring up topics or discussions that people normally would avoid. I think that goes into what I said before, to keep it spicy. I don't know if I can expand any more on those areas where I've already mentioned, like, the sense of like feeling personally empowered, strong sense of responsibility. Like, you inspired others to, like, put a fire under their butt, and they're like, I gotta get on my stuff. I gotta get my things together. I gotta get my life in order. Like, like the energy you bring in is like you're stirring the pot in a way, and it's causing others to want to take initiative. But Jupiter energy can do that. And you know what? Let's get into the Jupiter energy that we have here. Because Jupiter energy is very visionary, very open, very much like trying to be welcoming to other people. Generally positive, optimistic type of energy, uplifting. It can be competitive, as I mentioned before. With Jupiter energy, people don't normally see Jupiter as competitive, but it is a competitive placement because it has that fire sign energy where it connects to Sagittarius, and all fire sign energy is competitive, I can assure you. And so this energy is very like uplifting, very much like encourage, inspire others. Like I said, you put like a little fire under people's butt. Like you may just be talking about the things that you're doing and the things that you have going on in your life and how you're juggling 15 billion things, and you've got this interest, you got this hobby, you're doing this job, you're doing that job, you're starting your business, you're going to school here, you're babysitting, you're taking care of your kids. If you have kids, you know, you're dating this person. Like they're like, man, this person is so busy. Let me get up and do something. Let me go up and get out there and live my life. Okay? And I think the energy that you also bring with this Jupiter energy is that you'll naturally attract a lot of attention, or at least you'll know how to attract attention. One thing that I see about Jupiterian people is, I think out of all of the planetary, I put that in quotes, planetary rulerships that I've seen when I've studied nakshatras, is that Jupiterian people are the most likely placement to study the game. In fact, they're the ones who probably invented the game. Like when it comes to dating, right? Maybe they didn't invent it, but they're the most likely ones to study it, plan it out. And what I mean by the game, I mean like dating. Whew, sorry about this, pile number 5. That was such disruptive energy, which was going into what I was about to say before, which basically, as I was saying, is Jupiterian people tend to have a good understanding of game and dating and romance and seduction. And so it's almost like the energy that you bring into the room can be disruptive in a way. And I mean disruptive in a way that you're able to gather all the attention in the room for yourself in a way. Like people will feel like maybe at some times when you come into the room, you may find that people may be fighting for your attention, and it's because you are really good at understanding how to engage with people so that they are interested in the things that you have to say, or interested by your presence and who you are as a person. And that's something that I just want to take note of. Especially with that Jupiter energy coming here, because Jupiter is the biggest planet. It's larger than life. It's a huge presence. And not only that, but they are naturally very, well, maybe not naturally, but they learn to socially integrate themselves and interact in a way that makes people feel comforted, and generally not too threatened. That's just generally what I've noticed. I think also when you come into the room, because we have this Jupiter energy, you also bring about this energy of like elevated standards. Like you're somebody who has this vision of how you want to present yourself. And so you maybe some people even feel insecure around you with this 5 of Wands energy and this 8 of Swords, where they're feeling like, oh, this person is very sophisticated. They're very much an intellectual. You talk about your hobbies, intellectual pursuits, your advanced knowledge, maybe your achievements or your educational achievements, like being able to carry conversations, coming up with a lot of great ideas, have a lot of confidence in your knowledge base, your skill sets, being a sense of strong leadership, being able to properly articulate yourself and carry conversations and keep people interested and keep people engaged. And people feel like, wow, like I gotta really learn how to study how you move. Like they're feeling like the way you go through a room and the way the energy that you're bringing in is just so enticing for other people that they feel like they almost want to emulate the way that you go about having conversations with people and engaging with others, because you come across, like I mentioned before, sophisticated and inspirational and elevated and charismatic and just very like an aspiring type of feel, where they're feeling like, oh, like they're bringing in, I thought we were just goofing off, or I thought we were just like, you know, being a little bit more laid back, and we weren't trying to go too deep, or not that you're going too deep, but you're just bringing about like, how can we make this more interesting? How can you talk about your interests and the things that you're doing? And let's not talk about the weather, right? Like they thought they were expecting small talk. You're giving them like, no, I want to hear about the latest thing you've learned. I want to know what news articles you're reading. I want to know, like, how are you improving yourself and what kind of things that you have going on in your life. And that's the energy you're bringing. So you're causing people to, in a way, level up and be aware of their own, maybe their own faults in a way, or even just their own areas that they may feel insecure by, or maybe even just areas where they're like, oh wow, some people may feel like, wow, I finally get the chance to talk about this. So you do have like people who are super excited that you're bringing these things up, that you're bringing up things that you're interested in, that you're captivated by, because they're like, oh, I finally get to talk to somebody who I feel is very intelligent and smart and has their own ideas and their way of approaching things. And it's wonderful for them and refreshing for that group of people. Then you have another group and it's just like, oh wow, this person seems so accomplished, like you've done so much and you seem so funny and you know how to make people feel good and you make them laugh, and man, I wish I could do that. Like they have a little bit of an insecurity about it. But generally the energy you bring into the room is very useful, very knowledgeable. I mean, Jupiter is like this guru energy. So you may come across as somebody who just has the ability to mentor and teach people and has a great deal of experience is what I'm getting. So that is what I have for you, pal, number 5. There's really nothing more to expand on when it comes to this pile. I feel like we've covered all the basic feelings, that the energy that you're bringing into the room, like you really are a larger than life person, and so it's hard to not notice you. And people do see you as like very sophisticated and confident in that way, and always trying to go off into the next thing and venture off into something different, and you're like very witty and smart, and even if you're a little bit slow to open up or something along the lines of that, like ultimately people just feel like you're a great time to be around. So I'm going to end it there, and I hope you resonated with this. If not, feel free to choose a different pal or choose a different reader. And also, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because I do want to hear everything that you have to say. And I will see you next time. Au revoir.